Why do some people become incredibly wealthy, while millions struggle their entire lives? Throughout history, a small group has controlled most of the world's wealth, from the elites of ancient Rome to the powerful industrialists of the modern age. Figures like John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie built enormous fortunes during the Industrial Revolution. But the question remains, is wealth simply the result of hard work, or is the system designed to make the rich richer? Today, we explore the history behind one of the most important economic questions of our time. A world of two realities. We live in a world of strange contrasts. In one part of the world, wealth moves at a speed almost impossible to imagine. Skyscrapers rise higher every year. Private jets cross oceans in a matter of hours. Entire fortunes are built through technology, finance, trade, and global markets. And yet, at the very same time, millions of people are still struggling just to afford the basics: a home, an education, medical care, even food. That contrast is hard to ignore. It leads us to a question that has followed human society for centuries. Why do some people become extraordinarily rich, while others remain trapped in hardship generation after generation? To answer that, we have to step back and look at history, because wealth inequality is not new. In fact, it is one of the oldest patterns in human civilization. If we go back thousands of years to places like ancient Egypt and ancient Rome, we find societies where wealth and power were already concentrated in the hands of a small elite. Kings, nobles, military leaders, and landowners controlled the resources that mattered most: land, labor, food, and political authority. For ordinary people, life looked very different. Farmers worked the fields, craftsmen produced goods by hand, laborers carried out the exhausting work that kept entire societies alive. But despite everything they contributed, they owned very little of the wealth their labor helped create. As time moved forward, the world changed. Empires rose and fell, trade routes expanded, new inventions transformed production. Entire economies were rebuilt. But even as history changed, one pattern kept repeating itself. Those who controlled land, resources, or capital usually found ways to gain even more. And those who started with very little often struggled just to keep up. By the 19th century, during the Industrial Revolution, that divide became even clearer. Men like John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie built enormous fortunes in industries such as oil and steel. Their businesses helped reshape the modern economy. But while these great fortunes were rising, millions of workers were living very different lives, spending long hours in factories, mines, and workshops, often in dangerous conditions, for wages that gave them only a small share of the wealth they helped produce. So in many ways, the story of wealth is also the story of opportunity. Who gets access to it? Who is denied it? And why that gap can last for generations. So we return to the question at the heart of this story. Why does wealth so often rise to the top? And why has the distance between rich and poor proven so difficult to close? To understand that, we have to look beyond modern headlines and into the deeper forces that have shaped wealth, power, and inequality across human history. Because the story of why the rich got richer and why the poor so often did not is not just an economic story. It is one of the defining stories of civilization itself, the ancient roots of wealth inequality. To understand why wealth often accumulates among a small group of people, we must begin far back in history, long before modern banks, corporations, or financial markets existed. Wealth inequality is not a new phenomenon. In fact, it can be traced to some of the earliest civilizations in human history. In societies such as ancient Egypt and ancient Rome, wealth was already concentrated in the hands of a relatively small elite. But the form of wealth was different from what we might imagine today. In the ancient world, the most valuable resource was land. Land determined who controlled food production, who commanded labor, and who held political authority. Those who owned large estates possessed not only economic power, but often social and political influence as well. In ancient Egypt, vast stretches of farmland along the Nile River were managed by the state, temples, and powerful officials. Farmers worked these lands, producing the grain that sustained the kingdom. Yet the majority of this wealth flowed upward, to the pharaoh, to high-ranking priests, and to the administrative elite who governed the kingdom. The pattern was similar in ancient Rome. As Rome expanded its empire, wealthy landowners accumulated enormous agricultural estates known as latifundia. These estates were often worked by slaves or tenant farmers, producing crops that supplied Rome's growing population. While aristocratic families gained wealth and prestige, many ordinary citizens struggled to compete with these massive estates. Small farmers were frequently pushed off their land, and economic inequality became an increasingly visible feature of Roman society. These ancient civilizations were organized through strict social hierarchies. At the very top stood rulers and monarchs. Beneath them were nobles and powerful families who controlled land and wealth. Merchants and traders occupied an important but smaller space within the economy. And at the bottom were the vast majority of people, laborers, farmers, and peasants whose daily work sustained the entire system. For many individuals born into these lower social classes, opportunities to rise economically were extremely limited. Wealth and property were often inherited, passing from one generation to the next. Over time, this created powerful cycles of advantage and disadvantage. Families who already possessed land and resources could preserve their wealth, expand their influence, and secure better opportunities for their children. Meanwhile, families with little property often remained locked in the same economic position for generations. In many ways, these early systems laid the foundations for patterns of inequality that would continue to evolve throughout history. And although the forms of wealth would eventually change, shifting from land to industry, finance, and technology, the fundamental question would remain remarkably similar. Who controls the resources, and who benefits from the wealth they create? The power of land and feudal systems. As the ancient world faded and new kingdoms emerged, the structure of wealth and power began to change. But one important fact remained the same. Land continued to be the most valuable resource in society. During the Middle Ages, particularly in regions such as medieval Europe, a system known as feudalism became the dominant economic and social structure. Feudalism was built around the ownership of land. Kings and monarchs granted vast territories to powerful nobles and lords. In return, these nobles pledged loyalty, military service, and political support to the crown. Below them existed another layer of society, knights and local officials who managed portions of these lands. And at the very bottom were the peasants, who made up the overwhelming majority of the population. These peasants worked the land every day, farming crops, raising animals, and producing the food that sustained the entire society. Yet most of them did not own the land they worked. Instead, they lived as tenants or serfs, tied to the estates controlled by their lords. Their labor was essential to the system, but the wealth generated by that labor flowed largely upward. Peasants were required to give a portion of their harvest to the landowner. They also owed labor services and various forms of taxes. In many cases, they needed permission even to leave the land where they had been born. For the noble class, however, land ownership brought both wealth and influence. Large estates produced steady agricultural income, while control of land also granted political authority within the feudal hierarchy. Over generations, these estates were passed down within powerful families, ensuring that wealth remained concentrated among the same groups. This system created a world in which economic mobility was extremely limited. If a person was born into a noble family, they inherited land, status, and opportunity. But if they were born into a peasant family, their life was likely to follow the same path as their parents and grandparents. For most people living under feudal systems, escaping poverty was nearly impossible. In this way, the medieval economy reinforced a powerful cycle. Wealth generated by labor continued to accumulate among those who already possessed land and authority. And while the system provided stability for centuries, it also deepened the divide between those who controlled resources and those whose work sustained them. The Industrial Revolution, opportunity and exploitation. By the late 18th century, the world was beginning to change in ways few people could have imagined. For centuries, wealth had been tied mainly to land. Power belonged to kings, nobles, and landowners who controlled agriculture and rural labor. But a new transformation was beginning, one that would reshape economies, societies, and the very nature of wealth itself. Historians now call this transformation the Industrial Revolution. It first began in Great Britain in the late 1700s, before spreading across Europe and eventually to the United States. Instead of farms and small workshops, production began moving into factories. New machines powered by water and steam dramatically increased the speed and scale at which goods could be produced. One of the earliest industries to experience this transformation was textile manufacturing. Inventors introduced machines such as the spinning jenny and the power loom, allowing a single worker to produce far more cloth than ever before. Textile mills began appearing in industrial cities like Manchester, which soon became one of the largest manufacturing centers in the world. But textiles were only the beginning. Coal mining expanded rapidly to fuel steam engines. Iron production increased to supply machinery and railroads. And transportation itself was revolutionized with the growth of rail networks and steamships. These changes created enormous new opportunities. Entrepreneurs who owned factories, mines, railroads, or shipping companies could generate unprecedented wealth. Industrialists invested capital into machines and infrastructure, and in return, they often saw profits grow rapidly. In the United States, industrial expansion during the 19th century helped create vast fortunes. Business leaders such as John D. Rockefeller in the oil industry and Andrew Carnegie in steel built massive corporate empires that would dominate the economy. For many observers, the Industrial Revolution seemed like a triumph of progress. Cities grew larger, transportation became faster, and mass production made goods more widely available. Yet beneath this remarkable progress lay a more complicated reality. While factory owners accumulated wealth, millions of workers experienced a very different side of industrial life. Industrial cities grew rapidly as rural populations moved in search of jobs. Crowded neighborhoods formed around factories, and housing conditions were often poor. Factory labor itself was demanding and frequently dangerous. Many workers spent 10 to 14 hours a day inside noisy, hot, and poorly ventilated buildings. Machines could cause severe injuries, and workplace safety regulations were almost non-existent during the early years of industrialization. Wages were often low, and job security was uncertain. Children were also part of the industrial workforce. In many factories and mines, children worked long hours, performing tasks that required small hands or physical endurance. For families struggling to survive, the income from a child's labor could be essential. This created a powerful economic imbalance. Industrial growth produced enormous wealth, but that wealth was distributed unevenly. Those who owned factories, machinery, and capital captured the largest share of the profits, while workers received wages that often barely covered daily living expenses. At the same time, the Industrial Revolution also created new pathways for economic mobility. Some individuals from modest backgrounds were able to build businesses, invent technologies, or rise within expanding industries. Over time, education, entrepreneurship, and innovation allowed certain people to improve their economic position. Yet these opportunities were not equally accessible to everyone. For many workers, the rapid pace of industrialization meant long hours, difficult conditions, and limited control over the wealth their labor helped produce. The Industrial Revolution therefore created a paradox that continues to shape modern economies. On one hand, it generated unprecedented technological progress and economic growth. On the other, it intensified the divide between those who owned productive resources and those who depended on wages for survival. It was an era of extraordinary opportunity, but also one of profound inequality. And the patterns established during this period would play a major role in shaping the economic systems of the modern world. The rise of powerful industrialists. By the late 19th century, the Industrial Revolution had transformed the economic landscape of the United States and much of the industrialized world. Factories were expanding, railroads stretched across entire continents, and new technologies were reshaping how goods were produced and transported. In this rapidly changing environment, a new class of extraordinarily wealthy individuals began to emerge. These were the industrial magnates, powerful business leaders who built vast corporate empires and accumulated fortunes on a scale rarely seen before. Among the most famous was John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller built his fortune in the oil industry. During the 1870s and 1880s, his company, Standard Oil, expanded rapidly through a strategy known as horizontal integration, purchasing or driving out competing oil refineries until it controlled the majority of the industry. At its peak, Standard Oil refined nearly 90% of the oil in the United States. Rockefeller's business methods allowed him to dominate the market, reduce costs, and build one of the largest fortunes in modern history. Another towering figure of the era was Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie's rise was closely connected to the growth of the American steel industry. Recognizing that steel would become essential for railroads, bridges, skyscrapers, and machinery, Carnegie invested heavily in modern steel production. His company used innovative technologies and highly efficient manufacturing systems to produce steel at lower cost than competitors. By the 1890s, Carnegie Steel had become the largest steel producer in the world. Financial power during this period was also shaped by influential bankers such as J.P. Morgan. Morgan played a crucial role in financing major industries and reorganizing struggling companies. Through his banking network, he helped consolidate railroads, steel companies, and other industrial enterprises. In 1901, Morgan orchestrated the creation of United States Steel, the first billion-dollar corporation in American history, by purchasing Carnegie's steel company and combining it with several others. Railroads were another cornerstone of industrial wealth. Figures such as Cornelius Vanderbilt built vast transportation networks that connected cities, mines, farms, and factories across the nation. These railroads allowed goods to travel farther and faster than ever before, fueling national markets and accelerating economic growth. The industrialists who controlled these industries wielded enormous economic power. Their companies influenced prices, wages, transportation routes, and access to raw materials. For supporters, these men were known as captains of industry. They were praised for building infrastructure, creating jobs, and driving technological innovation that helped transform the United States into one of the world's leading industrial powers. Yet critics viewed them very differently. Many believed these magnates used aggressive tactics to eliminate competitors, control markets, and accumulate wealth at the expense of smaller businesses and workers. Because of this, critics often refer to them as robber barons. The enormous fortunes amassed by these industrial leaders stood in sharp contrast to the lives of many ordinary workers. While industrialists lived in grand mansions and commanded vast corporate empires, millions of laborers worked long hours in factories, mines, and railroads for modest wages. The gap between wealth and poverty became one of the defining features of this era, a period that writer Mark Twain famously described as the Gilded Age. The term suggested a society that appeared prosperous on the surface, yet concealed deep economic inequality beneath it. By the end of the 19th century, the rise of powerful industrialists had reshaped the global economy. Their companies built railroads, produced steel, refined oil, and financed massive projects that helped drive modern industrial society. But their success also raised profound questions about economic power, fairness, and the growing divide between those who controlled wealth and those whose labor made that wealth possible. The power of capital, why wealth multiplies. To understand why wealth often grows faster for those who already possess it, we must examine one of the most powerful forces in economics: capital. Capital refers to resources that can generate additional wealth over time. Unlike wages, which are earned through daily labor, capital works continuously once it is invested. Capital can take many forms. It may include financial investments, such as stocks and bonds. It may consist of property, including land, buildings, or real estate. It can also appear in the form of businesses, factories, machinery, or ownership in companies. In simple terms, capital is wealth that has the ability to create more wealth. Throughout history, individuals who controlled capital often found themselves in a very different economic position from those who depended only on wages. A worker earns income primarily by exchanging time and effort for pay. Once the workday ends, the flow of income usually stops. Capital, however, operates differently. When someone owns shares in a company, rental property, or a profitable business, that asset can generate income continuously, sometimes even while the owner is not actively working. Over time, this difference can become extremely significant. For example, an investment placed in a successful company may grow year after year. If the profits are reinvested, those earnings can generate even greater returns in the future. Economists describe this process as compounding. Compounding occurs when returns themselves begin generating additional returns. As the cycle repeats, wealth can expand at an accelerating pace. Because of this dynamic, individuals who already possess capital often see their wealth increase more rapidly than those who rely solely on wages. This phenomenon has been studied extensively by economists. One of the most influential modern analyses comes from the work of Thomas Piketty, a French economist whose research focuses on the long-term evolution of wealth and inequality. In his landmark book, Capital in the 21st Century, Piketty examined historical economic data from several countries over hundreds of years. His research revealed a striking pattern. In many periods of history, the average return on capital, profits from investments, property, and financial assets, tended to grow faster than overall wages and economic growth. This relationship is often summarized by a simple principle. When the returns on capital exceed the rate of economic growth, wealth becomes increasingly concentrated among those who already own assets. In practical terms, this means that individuals who possess significant investments may see their wealth expand steadily over time. Meanwhile, workers whose income depends primarily on wages may experience much slower financial progress. Of course, this does not mean that wealth cannot be built through work, entrepreneurship, or innovation. Many individuals have improved their economic circumstances through talent, education, and determination. However, access to capital can provide a powerful advantage. Families that accumulate assets can invest in businesses, purchase property, or fund education for future generations. These investments can open new opportunities and create long-term financial stability. By contrast, families with limited savings often face greater financial risks and fewer opportunities to invest. As a result, capital has the potential to amplify economic differences across generations. Over time, this process can contribute to widening wealth gaps within societies. Understanding the power of capital helps explain one of the central patterns in economic history. Those who possess productive assets, investments, property, and businesses often see their wealth multiply. Meanwhile, those who depend only on wages must work continuously to maintain financial security. It is this powerful dynamic that has shaped many of the economic inequalities we observe in the modern world. Education and opportunity. Throughout history, one of the most powerful tools for improving a person's economic future has been education. Education does more than simply provide knowledge. It opens doors to opportunity, expands career choices, and allows individuals to develop the skills needed to participate in growing industries and professions. In many societies, education has been viewed as one of the most important paths toward economic mobility. The ability for individuals to improve their financial circumstances compared to the generation before them. However, access to high-quality education has rarely been equal. For centuries, education itself was often limited to a small portion of society. In earlier historical periods, formal learning was largely reserved for elites, royal families, nobles, and religious institutions. In medieval Europe, for example, most universities were attended primarily by clergy or members of wealthy families. Over time, educational access expanded, public school systems developed, literacy rates improved, and universities became more widely available. Yet even in modern societies, differences in educational opportunity can still play a major role in shaping economic outcomes. Families with greater financial resources are often able to invest heavily in their children's education. They may live in neighborhoods with well-funded schools, hire private tutors, or enroll their children in specialized programs that strengthen academic preparation. They may also support higher education at prestigious universities such as Harvard University or Stanford University, institutions that have long been associated with influential professional networks and career opportunities. Beyond formal education, these environments can also provide access to valuable social connections. Professional networks, relationships with business leaders, mentors, and industry experts often play a significant role in career advancement. Internships, introductions, and professional guidance can help young graduates enter competitive fields such as finance, technology, medicine, or law. These advantages can create a powerful cycle of opportunity. Higher levels of education often lead to better paying jobs, increased financial stability, and greater ability to invest in the next generation. But for many families with fewer financial resources, the path can be much more difficult. In communities facing economic hardship, schools may have fewer resources, larger class sizes, and limited access to advanced academic programs. Students may also face additional challenges outside the classroom, including financial stress, limited access to educational materials, or the need to work while studying. These obstacles do not determine a person's potential or intelligence. Many individuals from modest backgrounds achieve remarkable success through determination, creativity, and perseverance. However, the starting conditions can be very different. When opportunities for education and professional development are unevenly distributed, economic mobility can become more difficult for large segments of the population. This dynamic helps explain why wealth and opportunity often remain concentrated within certain families or social groups over long periods of time. Education remains one of the most powerful forces for expanding opportunity. Yet when access to that education is unequal, the gap between those with advantages and those without them can grow wider, shaping economic outcomes for generations to come. Financial systems and investment access. As modern economies developed, another important factor began shaping the distribution of wealth: access to financial systems and investment opportunities. In earlier centuries, wealth was primarily tied to land or physical property. But in the modern world, financial markets have become one of the most powerful engines for creating and expanding wealth. Stock markets, investment funds, corporate ownership, and real estate markets allow individuals to place their money into assets that may grow in value over time. One of the most well-known examples of such a financial marketplace is the New York Stock Exchange, where shares of major companies are bought and sold every day. Similar exchanges around the world allow investors to participate in the growth of businesses across many industries. When someone invests in a successful company, the value of their shares may increase as the company grows. In addition, many companies distribute profits to shareholders in the form of dividends, regular payments that reward investors for their ownership. Real estate offers another common path to wealth building. Property owners may earn income through rent, while also benefiting from rising property values over time. In rapidly growing cities, real estate investments have historically generated substantial returns. Wealthy investors often have access to additional opportunities as well. They may invest in private companies before those companies become publicly traded. They may participate in venture capital, a form of investment that supports new businesses and technological innovation. Many of the world's most successful technology companies received early funding from venture capital firms located in regions such as Silicon Valley. These types of investments can produce extremely large returns if a company grows successfully. However, participating in such opportunities often requires significant financial resources, professional networks, and a tolerance for financial risk. This creates an important difference between households with substantial wealth and those with limited financial resources. For many lower-income families, daily life is focused primarily on meeting essential needs. Monthly income may go toward rent, food, transportation, healthcare, and other basic expenses. When most of a household's earnings are required simply to maintain stability, there may be little or no money left to invest. Without disposable income, money that can be saved or invested, building wealth through financial markets becomes far more difficult. Even small investments require a certain level of financial security. People must be able to set aside money for the future while still meeting their present needs. Over time, this difference in access to investments can have powerful effects. Those who are able to invest regularly may see their assets grow through market returns, dividends, and appreciation in value. Meanwhile, households that cannot invest may find it harder to accumulate long-term financial assets. This dynamic does not mean that financial success is impossible for people starting with fewer resources. Many individuals build wealth gradually through savings, entrepreneurship, education, and careful financial planning. However, access to investment opportunities can significantly influence how quickly wealth grows. As a result, financial systems themselves can play an important role in shaping economic inequality. Those who are able to participate fully in investment markets often benefit from the long-term growth of the economy. But those who are unable to invest may remain largely dependent on wages alone, making the process of wealth accumulation much slower and more difficult. In this way, access to financial systems and investment opportunities has become another key factor in understanding why wealth can expand rapidly for some individuals, while remaining far more difficult to build for others. Government policies and economic systems. While markets, investments, and individual opportunities play an important role in shaping wealth, another powerful force influences how wealth is distributed in society: government policy. Every modern economy operates within a framework of laws, regulations, and public institutions created by governments. These decisions help determine how businesses operate, how workers are protected, and how resources are distributed throughout society. Policies involving taxation, labor rights, social programs, and financial regulation can all influence economic inequality. Taxation, for example, is one of the most direct ways governments affect the distribution of wealth. In many countries, tax systems are designed to collect a portion of income or corporate profits in order to fund public services such as education, infrastructure, healthcare, and national defense. Some tax systems are structured progressively, meaning individuals with higher incomes pay a larger percentage in taxes. The goal of such systems is often to reduce extreme economic disparities while funding services that benefit the broader population. Labor laws also play a critical role. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, many workers faced long hours, dangerous conditions, and very limited protections. As industrial societies developed, labor movements pushed for reforms that would protect workers' rights. In the United States, for example, legislation such as the Fair Labor Standards Act eventually established minimum wage standards, limited child labor, and set rules for overtime pay. Governments also introduced regulations to prevent certain business practices that could concentrate too much economic power in a few hands. One of the earliest examples in the United States was the Sherman Antitrust Act, passed in 1890. This law aimed to prevent monopolies and promote fair competition by limiting the ability of corporations to dominate entire industries. Financial regulation is another key area. After major financial crises, governments often introduced new rules designed to stabilize markets and protect the broader economy. Following the financial collapse of the early 20th century, reforms eventually led to the creation of institutions such as the Federal Reserve System, which plays a central role in managing monetary policy and stabilizing the banking system. In addition to regulating markets, many governments establish social programs intended to provide economic security and opportunity for citizens. Programs supporting public education, healthcare, unemployment insurance, and retirement systems can help reduce economic vulnerability and provide individuals with tools to improve their circumstances. Different countries have approached these policies in different ways. Some nations emphasize stronger social safety nets and government programs designed to reduce inequality. Others rely more heavily on market-driven economic systems that prioritize growth and private enterprise. Throughout modern history, Societies have continuously debated how to balance two important goals: encouraging economic growth and innovation, while also ensuring that prosperity is shared broadly enough to support social stability. These debates have shaped economic systems across the world. In the end, government policies do not completely determine wealth distribution, but they can strongly influence the conditions under which wealth is created, accumulated, and shared. The choices made by governments, through laws, institutions, and public investments, often play a significant role in determining whether economic opportunity expands or remains concentrated among a smaller portion of society. The modern wealth gap. As we move into the 21st century, the question of wealth inequality remains one of the most widely discussed economic issues in the world. Despite remarkable technological progress and unprecedented global economic growth, the gap between the richest individuals and the rest of society continues to attract intense debate among economists, policymakers, and scholars. In many ways, the modern economy has created extraordinary opportunities. Advances in technology, communication, and transportation have connected markets across continents. Companies can now operate on a truly global scale, selling products and services to billions of people. Innovative industries, from information technology to biotechnology, have produced new forms of wealth that would have been almost unimaginable only a century ago. Entrepreneurs in places such as Silicon Valley have built companies that transformed everyday life. Figures like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos created businesses that reshaped global commerce, digital communication, and technology. These developments demonstrate how innovation and entrepreneurship can generate enormous economic value. At the same time, globalization has expanded trade and investment across the world. Supply chains now connect factories, workers, and consumers across multiple continents. Financial markets allow capital to move rapidly between countries, funding businesses and infrastructure projects around the globe. However, these powerful forces have also introduced new challenges. Technological change has increased the demand for highly skilled workers while reducing the need for certain types of manual labor. Automation and digital systems have improved productivity, but they have also transformed the kinds of jobs available in many industries. Workers with advanced education or specialized technical skills often benefit the most from these changes, while others may face greater difficulty adapting to rapidly evolving labor markets. Globalization has also created uneven outcomes. Some regions have experienced significant economic growth and rising living standards. Others have struggled with industrial decline or limited access to new opportunities. At the same time, financial markets and global investment systems have continued to reward those who already possess substantial capital. Large investors, multinational corporations, and major financial institutions often operate on a scale that allows them to benefit significantly from economic expansion. Meanwhile, many households continue to rely primarily on wages, which often grow more slowly than returns on capital or financial assets. These trends have contributed to ongoing discussions about the modern wealth gap. Researchers and institutions such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund regularly study patterns of income and wealth distribution across countries. Their findings often highlight an important reality. Economic growth alone does not automatically eliminate inequality. While global poverty rates have declined in some regions, wealth remains highly concentrated at the top of the economic system. This does not mean that economic systems are static or unchangeable. Throughout history, societies have adjusted policies, institutions, and economic structures in response to changing conditions. The conversation about inequality continues to evolve as governments, businesses, and communities explore ways to expand opportunity while maintaining economic growth. What remains clear is that the modern wealth gap reflects a complex combination of historical forces, technological change, access to education, investment opportunities, and government policy. Understanding these forces is essential for understanding the economic challenges of our time. Because the question that has shaped centuries of economic history still remains deeply relevant today. How can societies create prosperity, while ensuring that opportunity is not limited to only a few? The question for the future. Finally, as we reflect on the long history of wealth and inequality, one thing becomes clear. This story is centuries in the making. From the ancient civilizations where land determined power, to the feudal systems that kept peasants tied to the soil, to the industrial age where factories and railroads created unimaginable fortunes, the distribution of wealth has always been shaped by both human decisions and structural systems. In the modern world, access to education, capital, financial markets, and government policy continues to determine who thrives and who struggles. Those who already possess resources can multiply them, while many others must work tirelessly just to maintain their livelihoods. By examining why the rich have historically gotten richer and why the poor often remain disadvantaged, we gain a deeper understanding of the forces that have shaped the world we live in today. But history also presents us with a choice. The patterns of the past do not have to dictate the future. How societies respond, what policies they enact, and what values they prioritize can influence whether opportunity is more widely shared or further concentrated. And so, the story of wealth inequality ultimately leaves us with a question that matters now more than ever. What kind of economic future do we want to build? A future where opportunity is limited to a few, or one where prosperity is accessible to all? The answer may define the world for generations to come. Thank you for watching. If you found this piece of history compelling, please like this video and subscribe for more stories that shaped our world.